twins. I'm allowed to talk to you guys at separate times.
Yeah, and I'm allowed to talk to you now whenever I want to as well. Right.
I got on the bus and they said to me,
who's they?
Julia, Gertie. You told everybody. You told everybody that I dangled the plane.
You do that. You do that.
That I dangled.
Hey guys. Welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, the Brooke Ashley, and today we are here to discuss The Real Housewives of Miami, Season 7, Episode 13. And before we get into it, let me start off by saying, Stephanie, I understand completely why your sisters don't F with you. You and this plane. And I told you guys in past recaps, I don't do well when folks try to dangle a carrot in front of my face. And that's what Stephanie has been doing with this damn plane. Absolutely not.
You not fab like that to be doing all of that. Learn your place, earn your spot.
For you to be mad at Alexia and Marysol, girl, stop. But Stephanie, I'm gonna be whacking you all throughout this recap, so just sit tight. Now, Lisa, this is the Lisa that I have missed. The fun, light-hearted Lisa Hochstein. I said, thank you, Jesus, she's back. No more talking and whining and crying about Lenny. Thank the Lord. And for everybody who feels like I don't like a housewife because I critique her, let's all stop the madness. I pride myself on being fair. Just because I've been hard on Lisa this season does not mean that I dislike her. It just means that sometimes a housewife gets on my nerves. And that's normal. That's life, right? But because I give my critique of a housewife being grating or irritating does not mean that I have it out for her or I dislike her. It's not that deep. I don't hate any housewife. No matter how hard I get on a housewife, I don't hate any of them. So let's be clear about that. But yes, Lisa, this is the Lisa that I want to see. Keep this up. Now, Larsa, I have some choice words for you too because you also tried it. I understand that you and Lisa are on the outs over a very stupid fight, but it feels like you're dragging it at this point and that you want to stay mad. Because girl, it's not that deep for you to be that mad at Lisa. And seeing you so far up Stephanie's behind is a bit alarming. Because I'm like, Larsa, girl, what are we doing here? But as y'all can see, I have a lot to say. So without further ado, let's get right on into it because you guys already know that we don't have a minute to spare. Now, one thing about Miami, they're always going to give you a luxurious vacation and a good spread. And that's why today's video is sponsored by EveryPlate. Think you have to spend big bucks or tons of time in the kitchen to make delicious food at home? Think again. When you use EveryPlate, you get restaurant-level deliciousness week after week with recipes like the crispy buffalo ranch chicken and the super smash burgers. Now, y'all know my mouth is already watering because I love a good burger, and I am still thinking about that super smash burger with the caramelized onions, that chipotle aioli sauce, and the potato wedges. Chef's kiss. You'll spend less on these flavor-packed homemade meals than you would on your normal groceries or at a restaurant. Cooking the same things over and over, up your dinner game in 30 minutes or less with EveryPlate's clear and easy to follow recipes. Thanks to EveryPlate's constantly rotating weekly recipes delivered right to your door, you'll always have the best answer to what's for dinner. And what I love about EveryPlate is the variety of meals. One night I might feel like a burger, another night I might feel like some pasta, another night I want to do some veggies and chicken, and they have every possible recipe that your heart desires. And y'all know I love a good meal. And EveryPlate always delivers, pun intended. What are you waiting for? Dig into these flavor-packed meals your household will love. New customers can enjoy the special offer of only $1.99 a meal. Go to everyplate.com/podcast and use code BROOKE199 to get started. Applied as discount on first box, limited time only. So we open up the episode. It's the next morning. Everybody, for the most part, is getting ready for the day trip to Marbella. So we see Julia in the lobby, Gertie and Kiki come down, and it was funny because Gertie made a joke. She was like, oh, Kiki, so ratchet. And we all know what happened at last night's dinner between Kiki and Adriana, where Adriana called Kiki ratchet. But then she said that it wasn't that, she called her wretched. So now we see Kiki's confessional, and she says that, is she pissed at Adriana? Yes. But is she going to hold a grudge? No. She says, I just want to get on that private plane and have a beautiful day in Marbella and have no drama. And I said, girl, same here. Because y'all have been fighting every single day on this trip. You guys have yet to have a peaceful dinner. So now we see Lisa come downstairs, and she says that she bumped into Larsa earlier this morning, and Larsa refused to talk to her, wouldn't even look at her. But despite that, she wants to have a good time, and she's going to be on her best behavior. So she's not trying to have any drama either. And I said, thank the Lord, because this whole entire feud between you and Larsa is really stale. Like, the fact that you guys have stretched out this beef about Larsa's ex-boyfriend, Marcus Jordan, for 13 episodes. Are you serious? So now Julia announces that Marysol and Alexia hit her up and told her that they will not be attending today's festivities in Marbella. They're staying put at the hotel. So they're all like, wait, what? Like, why? And Julia says because Marysol had concerns about what if something happens and Stephanie gets mad and they're stuck in Marbella with no way to get back to the hotel. So now Julia says, it's no hard feelings. I don't feel any way about it. It's still fine. Now, Julia, let me just stop for a minute, because it is so clear that you are so pressed to be in Alexia and Marysol's inner circle. If anybody else pulled this stunt, Julia would be hurt and upset. The fact that Julia was still upset with Gertie over a cruise that happened 2 years ago, she's mad about that, but she's going to allow Alexia and Marysol to slide from a very special moment in her life. It proves everybody's point that Julia is so hell-bent on being friends with the popular girls. Julia, all I'm saying is, it needs to be fair across the board. So now we cut to Marysol and Alexia on their terrace, and they're like, look, we need a day to ourselves. We're not going to Marbella with them. Marysol says between Adriana and Kiki last night, then you have Stephanie with her Mussolini moment, I just can't. I said, listen, I get it. Especially with Stephanie, because the way Stephanie continues to dangle that plane over their faces like that, I couldn't do it either.
No.
So now we cut right back to everybody else in the lobby, and Stephanie has received the text from Alexia and Marysol that they won't be joining them. So Stephanie is shocked, she's confused and hurt. She's like, wait, what? I'm just so surprised. We had a great time last night, and now all of a sudden they're not coming. I feel so hurt. I said, Stephanie, girl, you were showing out over a 22-minute flight. You had a little Venn diagram and seating arrangement saying, well, she can sit here by herself if she can't get right and I'm gonna leave them behind. They were annoyed by that. For you to be so confused as to why they're not showing up, I'm like, girl, did you forget how you acted last night? Nobody's trying to be around anybody who's on a power trip. And that's what it is with you. I think that you're insecure and you really get off on people needing what you have or wanting what you have. And because Marysol and Alexia are like, no, girl, it's okay. Enjoy your plane. We'll be over here. You can't take it. And low-key, Stephanie, it feels like you were really hurt about the fact that the cool girls of the group don't care about your plane. So now they're in the Sprinter van, and we see Adriana saying that she tried to reach out to Kiki 3 times last night, and Kiki would not speak to her. When I'm pissed off or if I feel slighted, don't come to me right after the argument. Give me some time to sit in my anger and just stew. Like, that's me. I'm not somebody who wants to just figure it out right away. Give me a few hours to just sit in it, feel my feelings, and then we can talk the next morning. So yes, if I were Kiki, I wouldn't have talked to Adriana right away either. I'm gonna need Adriana to sit down and just leave me alone for the time being, and we'll talk when I'm ready. So of course, in the Sprinter van, the conversation turns right back to Alexia and Marysol skipping out on Marbella. So you have Stephanie asking, I'm just so confused, what happened? So Julia breaks it down for Stephanie and she says, look, Stephanie, Marysol felt like, what if we misbehave? And we all know how you have rules on your plane. And bottom line, they weren't trying to feel beholden to you about your damn plane. And sometimes you can talk to people in a very bossy manner. And I'm not even going to hold you while I don't see it for Julia. Julia, you ain't that one little thing. And I'm going to give you your 7s for that. Because absolutely, Stephanie wants them to feel beholden to her. She keeps dangling the carrot in front of their faces. And nobody has time for that. And the way she speaks to people is in a very condescending, abrasive, and a very bossy tone at times. And girl, they're all grown. They're older than her. So it's like, girl, who are you talking to? So yes, Julia, you were right this one time. So I'll give you your 5s for that, Miss Mamas. But yeah, I was glad that Julia told her right. And Stephanie, instead of you just being an adult and saying, you know what, you're right, I could work on my delivery better, you're getting all defensive saying, well, obviously, I'm not that bossy if you're getting on my private plane. I was like, here you go again. Do you think you're the only person in the world with a private plane? Stephanie, I would have read you for filth. Because how dare you? I would have let you know what? Keep your private plane. I'll go fly private. I'll put my Amex down and I'll charter my own jet. I don't need this. Stephanie, they all know people with private planes. You're not the only one. You're not special, sis. Like, what are we doing here? And Julia had to let you know, like, girl, this is exactly why Alexia and Marysol aren't here, because of this attitude that you have. So Stephanie says, well, I'm not that bossy. And Julia says, girl, you don't offer something to then take it back in a belittling way. And she's correct. If you offer somebody money or help or resources, you don't throw it back in their face. And that's what Stephanie keeps doing. She's insufferable. And now you have Larsa jumping in to defend her, and she's like, you know, it's a no-win situation for Stephanie. If she says this, you guys call her a kiss ass. If she says that, then you guys say she's dangling her plane. It's costing her 40 grand to go 20 minutes. Larsa, respectfully, girl, please stay out of this. And Larsa, let me just read you quickly, because we know how you are. We know that your mouth is reckless. If Stephanie ever tried to play in your face about her plane, you would read her down about, do you know who my ex-husband was? I was on jets all the time. Girl, I can get a jet on my own. You know good and well that your friend is wrong for what she's doing. It's like, my God, there has to be a happy medium where you can still be friends with somebody and let them know, hey girl, you're doing a bit too much. I still love you, but let's reel it back in. And nobody's being unappreciative or ungrateful. It's that Stephanie's being insufferable. That's all this is. I just can't stand people. I've met a lot of Stephanies, and one thing about me, I just have too much pride to go out like that. You will never catch me begging for anything. Because one thing about it, baby, I'm good. I will slap down my Amex so fast, girl, don't worry about it. Like, I wish I would sit up there and beg somebody for whatever. No, Miss Mamas, I'm good on my own. I'll get my own jet. I'll fly Delta One. Like, it's really okay. Like, I promise you. And I know that everybody has personality flaws. Nobody's perfect. But Stephanie, please work on that, because it's not a good look. And again, it's really showing me why your sisters don't F with you. Because I'm pretty sure that once you got married to Masood, you were playing these games. And they couldn't take it, rightfully so. So now they get on Stephanie's plane and she's like, thank you guys for flying Shoma Air. And then she says, look at us. We got through this short flight with no drama. And I said, well, duh. It was only 22 minutes. And that's what really blows me, is the fact that you did all this for a 22-minute flight. Does that make sense to you, Stephanie? What rules could you possibly have for a flight that's not even a half hour? Y'all didn't even eat anything. And I'm sorry, Miss Mamas, but I'm gonna need you to retire that whole Jetiquette stuff. Stop trying to make fetch happen. The same way we don't care for Marysol and the cockies, we don't care about your Jetiquette. Stop. Stephanie, if you do decide to come back for season 8, I'm gonna need you to revamp this personality, because you are dry and stiff. You're not giving. So they're in Marbella, and now we get to Julia's friend's house. When I tell y'all, that home is absolutely stunning. Julia, you know how I feel about you, but now I understand why you are so pressed to make these friends your son's godparents, because your friends are loaded and that house is gorgeous. I said, I get it. You might be obvious with your social climbing, but you do get the job done. So remember how I told you guys that Lisa was hilarious in this episode? When I tell you she had me screaming, when we cut to her confessional and she said that Julia's friend Derek reminded her of the gay guy in White Lotus, but I'm not trying to go out like Jennifer Coolidge's character though. Now hold on. Season 2 of White Lotus, chef's kiss. The best season in my opinion. Jennifer Coolidge gave a performance, all right? Because that finale had me gagged. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. And you don't have to watch season 1 if you don't want to, but Jennifer Coolidge is in both seasons 1 and 2. So now we find out from Julia that she met Derek and Jeffrey 15 years ago in Miami. Her, Martina, Derek and Jeffrey became great friends, and they visit them in Marbella every summer for 3 weeks. So I said, yeah, girl, I'm sure you do. And you did your big one marrying Martina, because you know good and damn well that you wouldn't be in half of these rooms if you guys weren't married. And I'm going to just keep it right there. But Julia knows how to get a bag. So now they sit down with some champagne. They're talking and joking. Derek's asking all of them what's new, what's exciting. And Lisa says, I have an announcement. So she gets up and she says, I'm officially divorced. And I said, thank you, Jesus, won't he do it? No more talk about Lenny. This is done. Put this to bed. Hallelujah. All right? I said, because girl, we have been tired. But they're all clapping for Lisa. They're toasting to the news. And everybody's excited except for Larsa. So Larsa's rolling her eyes, sipping her drink. And she's like, what are we toasting to? Lawsuits? And I said, Larsa, I get that you're annoyed with Lisa, but can you please just stop being so petty? Just say congratulations. It's like Larsa is damn near heartless because the way she acts so cold sometimes. I mean, it's not that deep for you to be this mad at Lisa. I'm just saying. And Lisa, when you kept trying to clink glasses with Larsa, I said, girl, leave it alone. She's paying you dust. She's not engaging. I would not give Larsa that satisfaction that I want her attention. Now, mind you, Larsa turns to Julia and she says, I'm really upset that Alexia and Marysol aren't here. And Julia says, yeah, I know, I'm sad too, but honest to God, I don't hold it against them. So now we jump over to Marysol and Alexia at a bakery in Sevilla, and they're talking about how they couldn't take Stephanie's antics. Marysol says, if I heard about that damn plane one more time, it was going to be an issue. So now we find out that she's friends with Sir Richard Branson, and he invited her on his boat to celebrate her recent nuptials. So she says that she's going to invite all the women, and then she goes on to say that on his boats and planes, you can eat, poop, do whatever you want. There is no rules. One thing about the Miami girls, they have some deep pockets and deep connections. And the fact that Marysol and Sir Richard Branson are social friends, I said, okay, Marysol, girl, listen, I might not see it for you a lot of the times, but you did that. I said, all right, I'm here for it. So now we cut right back to everybody else in Marbella, and it's time for lunch. Now, Miami is going to always show out with the spreads, and this was no different. This spread had my mouth watering, and y'all know I love seafood. They had the lobster and the fish. I said, oh, let me just not even get into all that because I'll be over here drooling, okay? But that spread looked phenomenal. So anyhow, as they're eating, Lisa must have been good and drunk because she's talking about, oh my gosh, I feel like I have to be super elegant and I'm with all these rich people and I want to talk like rich people. Do you guys have any Grey Poupon? They were all staring at her like, girl, what? Then at one point, she gets up and says, I feel like we need to pour something out for Alexia and Marysol not being here. And Gertie had me yelling when she said, girl, we are not pouring out champagne like it's the dead homies in LA. Like, sit down.
Amazing. And also, I wish that our friends were here.
That's nice.
We should pour a drink out for them.
I mean, they're not homies that are dead in LA. Girl, like, put it down.
I said, I don't know if Lisa was tipsy or if she was putting on for the cameras, but whatever she was doing had me on the floor. And I said, Lisa, you are so enjoyable when you are not crying about Lenny. This is the Lisa that I want to see going forward. Now, you know Larsa wasn't here for it. She was like, this is so embarrassing. I feel like we're at the award show when they start playing the music for you to get off the stage and somebody needs to come and get Lisa right now. I said, Larsa, you hate Lisa that bad? I mean, it's like, damn, she can't do anything right in your eyes. Again, Lisa has her moments, but so do you, sis. You're not always a walk in the park either. And your constant aggression is also wearing thin with me too, because at some point it would be nice to see you jovial and in happier spirits, but the constant bitchiness, I'm like, okay girl, can we please tone it down just a bit? So now it's the big moment where Julia is going to ask her good friends if they would be the godfathers to her boys. So Julia says, you're not just my friend, you're my family, and I would love for you to be a part of my boys' lives. Would you and Jeffrey accept the title of godparents? And Derek says, oh my gosh, absolutely. So he's super emotional. He gives Julia the biggest hug, and everybody's clapping. Now, hearing Julia say that she's so happy to hear that because she needs her boys to have some male figures in their lives, that's great and all, but my question is, where are the black figures for your boys? Because your sons are black, and them having black influences is extremely important. So now we cut to Adriana's confessional, and Adriana feels a bit slighted. She says, well, I'm happy for Julia asking Derek and Jeffrey to be the godparents. Why haven't I been asked to be the godmother? Because me and Julia have been best friends for quite some time. They've been best friends for a decade. So I understand why Adriana would feel a way about that. But I said, Adriana, your friend is a social climber, and it's all about who is the wealthiest, who can do the most for her, who can elevate her. Her actions have been showing you all season long that she's all about herself. Julia just moved so slimy. And are you surprised, Adriana? Because let's not forget, this is the same best friend who asked if she could sit next to Stephanie at the baby shower that you planned and paid for. So that's who you're dealing with. So now we see everybody off in pairs. They're talking to each other. We have Kiki and Gertie talking about Adriana's ratchet comment. And Kiki makes it clear that she's not trying to talk to Adriana about this right now. They can have that conversation in Miami, but not here. And I get that. We're on vacation. Let's have fun. Let's try and salvage the rest of the trip. Nobody has time to be fighting day in and day out. So now we cut to Adriana and Lisa, and they're also discussing the whole spat between her and Kiki. And Adriana says, no, the word that I said was wretched. It was wretched, not ratchet. And Lisa says, well, I'll give her the benefit of the doubt because of her strong accent. Now, at first, I was trying to also give Adriana the benefit of the doubt. But the way y'all let me know in my last recap when we went live, like, no, girl. Adriana is well-read. She's well-educated. She's getting a master's from Harvard. She knows the difference between ratchet and wretched. So girl, no. So I'ma just go with you guys and say that Adriana knew what she was doing. And now she's trying to backpedal because of the backlash. Julia telling Derek all about her sob story regarding her girls not speaking to her or Martina regarding the adoption. I don't have anything else to say about that. You guys know where I stand. I've always had a side eye for Julia when she had no idea the names of her daughter's schools. And they both looked at her like, Mom, are you serious? So now the day trip to Marbella is over, and now we cut right back to everybody back in Sevilla. So mind you, it's the next day. Everybody's in their hotel rooms getting ready for flamenco. They're going to do flamenco at the Plaza de España. That's what Marysol planned for Stephanie's birthday. So we see Marysol saying that she planned this for Stephanie's birthday over a week ago before all the drama popped off. And even though Stephanie's been over the top herself, she's not trying to lose her deposit. So now we see them all downstairs in the lobby, and Marysol says, oh, I hope you guys had fun yesterday. I wish I could have seen the house, but I wanted to be with Alexia. So you have Stephanie saying, oh, their stories keep changing because they know they're wrong. And I said, Stephanie, nobody's spinning their story. So now Larsa jumps in and says, yeah, you guys were missed last night. And now Alexia says, well, Marysol felt strongly about all the rules on the plane, so that's why we stayed put. So now Stephanie says, so wait, which one is it? Is it because you guys want to stay back and relax? Or is it because I had too many rules? And I said, Stephanie, what are you not understanding? Nobody is afraid of you. They told you that they were not going to be on your plane due to your stupid rules. You were doing way too much, throwing out threats about, oh, if you guys misbehave, I'm going to take the plane away from you and you'll have to walk back. Nobody's dealing with that. Everybody is good and grown. Nobody needs that. That's why they stayed put. For you to act like, oh, which story is it? You're not that important where folks need to lie to you. Just so we're clear. So now the ladies get to Plaza de España and it is gorgeous. And I thought it was really sweet that Marysol paid for a singer singing happy birthday to Stephanie, and she hired flamenco dancers. And here goes Stephanie ruining a sweet moment. She's like, wait, I'm confused. You were just calling me bossy yesterday, but now you want to celebrate me? I'm confused. I don't get it. I said, Stephanie, girl, they're putting the drama aside to wish you a happy birthday and celebrate you. Just be happy. My God. Now, when they got done dancing with the flamenco dancers, they're exploring the Plaza de España. And when I tell you that all hell broke loose right here, now the way I would have been so embarrassed, because to be in Spain, screaming and cursing and hollering in public, I said, no ma'am. I would have been right back at that hotel because I'm not going to sit up there and make a fool of myself like this. And the way they were all carrying on in this scene sent me all the way over. So now Stephanie pulls Alexia to the side and she says, I wanted to talk to you about something. And she's upset about Alexia and Marysol not getting on her plane to go to Marbella yesterday. So Alexia's like, well, why don't we call Marysol over because she's also a part of this conversation too. So Stephanie says, well, no, because Marysol did plan my birthday. And Alexia says, no, it doesn't always have to be on your rules, like Marysol should be here. So now Alexia says, look, I just wanted to have a day to myself with Marysol, and that's what we did. So now Stephanie interjects, and she says, well, all right. And before she can finish, Alexia jumps back in and says, I didn't want you to take it personal. So now, Stephanie, here's where you go wrong because you say, oh, I let you finish. So Alexia is not here for that at all. And she's like, okay, girl, here you go. I don't appreciate you talking to me like that. And the fact that you won't even have Marysol here for this conversation. So now Stephanie says, well, you and Marysol aren't twins. And I said, Stephanie, I understand that. But you have to know that when dealing with Alexia, you better come correct. And I do feel like it is unfair for you to pull Alexia to the side and not Marysol. They were both in agreement to not come to Marbella. So I do feel like Alexia was right in saying, well, why aren't you talking to Marysol? Why are you just pulling me to the side? I get that. And also, we already know that Marysol and Alexia are pretty much a package deal. So you might as well just talk to the both of them if you have an issue. Because you are mad at both Marysol and Alexia. So Stephanie, do you have a bad memory? Do you have amnesia? Because when you try to say, they told me yesterday on the bus that you were afraid that I would leave you in Marbella stranded. What kind of human do you think I am? And Alexia said, girl, you did say that. And I said, Stephanie, why are you playing dumb? Do you not remember the night before you had your little paper out with a seating arrangement saying, oh, well, she'll sit here by herself, and if she acts up, she'll sit by the bathrooms, and I'll have her sitting at the back of the plane. Then you went on to say, yeah, and if they start fighting, if there's any arguments, I'm gonna leave you there in Marbella, and you'll have to find your own way back. So don't say that. So for you to play dumb and act like, wait, how could you believe that I would do something like that? Because you actually said it out your own mouth. Stephanie, I'm not here for this. You can't play the villain and the victim at the same time. That's not how this works. I was here for Alexia getting Stephanie together. She was like, girl, you're trying to separate people in this group. So now Stephanie says, and you're a backstabber, you're not a friend to me. I said, okay, girl. And I know that we get on Miss Alexia, but low-key, Stephanie looked so thirsty the way she chased behind Alexia, because Alexia said, you know what, I don't want to talk to you anymore, I'm done. She walked away, and you have Stephanie following behind her. I said, oh, girl. I said, oh, you want Alexia's attention so bad. You're chasing behind her like a puppy, trying to be heard. I said, my God. And Stephanie, I lost all respect when you guys walked back to the group and you told that lie saying, oh yeah, Lisa, by the way, Alexia said that she didn't want you on the plane. I was just like, girl, that never happened. You were the one at that tile making class asking Larsa if she wanted Lisa on the plane. I said, why are we lying? So Lisa's blindsided and she says, wait, who wanted me removed from the plane? So Alexia says, Larsa and Stephanie. I had no parts in that. Now, I was happy to see Larsa own up to it and say, yes, I did suggest it, but Stephanie did ask me. So when I tell you that everybody is at each other's throats, because now you have Larsa and Lisa screaming at each other, and you have Lisa saying, girl, you don't control this group, and she calls Larsa Petty Pippin, Larsa screaming back at her. Now you have Alexia, Marysol, and Stephanie going at it. Now I loved how Marysol told Stephanie, girl, we don't answer to you. I said, whack her again.
I'm gonna just scoot on over and let you whack him. Get him again. Get him for me.
I was happy to see Kiki and Gertie sitting out and just watching all the mess go down. Kiki says, now this is ratchet. Now, they must have been arguing at the Plaza de España for at least 30 minutes, and they were just going back and forth. And at one point, Marysol says, let's go back to the hotel because I can't do this. And now we see Stephanie saying that Marysol and Alexia are both flip-flopping and how they remind her of her sisters. I said, somebody please get Stephanie's sisters on the line. I believe that Stephanie has pulled this mess with her sisters and they want no parts of her. So now we see Stephanie walk over to Kiki, Gertie, and Adriana, and she says that they're just angry that she's friends with all of them. And now Kiki interjects and says, may I say something? I'm just confused because me and Adriana got into a blowout last night, but we decided to put our issues aside to have fun for the day and get on the same flight. So now Adriana turns to Kiki and she says, Kiki, I want to apologize. And Kiki accepts her apology. So they're good. And I said, okay, well, that's good to hear. Because the way this group is so divided, I'm like, damn, nobody gets along. Like I said on Twitter a few weeks ago, this season of Miami reminds me so much of Potomac seasons 5 through 8, when there was a clear divide in the group. And it was not fun to watch. That's what the majority of this season has given me. So now we're back at the hotel and we see everybody for the most part paired off or in trios. We see Marysol, Adriana, and I think Kiki at the bar. Marysol's upset. She's like, today was a mess. I don't know what we're going to do now. We're going on that cruise that was given to me by Richard Branson. Like, how is this going to work now since we're all fighting? Then we got to Larsa and Stephanie in Stephanie's room. And Stephanie says, maybe it's not all Alexia. Maybe it's Marysol. So she goes on to say that Marysol likes to play both sides of every situation. And I said, Stephanie, we don't even have to dig that deep into this. The bottom line is you showed your entire ass when it came to a 22-minute flight. That's it and that's all. Nobody wants to constantly be reminded that they might have to walk back or drive back if they misbehave, especially at Marysol and Alexia's ages. They're in their 50s. Girl, you're sitting up there dangling a plane in front of their faces. Like, nobody's going for that. So you can think what you want to think about, well, maybe Marysol is the mean girl or the ringleader, but you were wrong with how you acted about your plane. Just own it. And then you keep saying, oh, it reminds me of me and my sisters because they did this mess. I need to hear from your sisters because something tells me that you're the one who's at fault when it comes to why you guys fell out. You don't have the most riveting personality where I'm going to side with you. Like, it's no shade. I could see if you were a happier, friendlier, pleasant person, but you're not. So now we cut to Alexia, Lisa, and Julia on the terrace, and they're talking about the drama in the group. And Alexia says, Stephanie's trying to create drama in this group and split the group up, but it's not going to happen. And then she points out how Larsa is so far up her ass, and even Lisa jumps in and says, yeah, I've never seen Larsa act like this. And I have to say, is anybody surprised? Because Larsa was up the Kardashians behind for years. So I'm not surprised that she's doing all this for Stephanie. But as they're talking, they notice that a funeral procession is taking place on the streets. So they're watching that. And now we cut to Stephanie and Larsa in Stephanie's room, and they give this prayer asking the Lord for guidance in this group. I said, now, do I believe that that prayer went past the ceiling? No, but it was a cute attempt. Let me stop it. But that's where the episode ends, and I have to say, I really did enjoy the episode. I thought it was great. It was fun to see Lisa in a happier and joyful light. I said, that's what we need. And the day trip to Marbella was just stunning. I said, now, Julia, again, I don't see it for you, but you did that with this day trip. And your friend's home is absolutely gorgeous. But y'all, thank you so much for watching. Thank you all for listening on the podcast. And you already know what to do. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you all later. Bye.